Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm good. Thank you.
How is life going in Belgium? How are you?
I think life in Belgium is like in many other countries. We're all at home and we're all hoping that the virus will decrease in power in the next few weeks so that hopefully we can have a more open life than what we have right now. But the good thing is in my family and broad group of friends, we don't have anyone who got sick or anyone who died. So we're very thankful for that.
Happy to hear that. So shall we begin with the idea of human touch, which is you always focus on your presentations?
Yes.
From now on, how is it going to change? How people will perceive human touch after coronavirus is gone? What do you think?
Well, if you look at the situation in the world right now, it's clear that everyone is focusing on digital for almost everything. I mean, for our jobs, for communication, for entertainment, for commerce, we don't have any other choice. So this is the largest digital training course the world has ever seen, which means that many barriers for digital will disappear and we will have an increase in digital usage. There's no doubt about that. But if you then look at the impact that this has on the human-to-human life, the in-person life, I always play with the law of scarcity, the old economic law of scarcity that learns of this, if something is scarce, it increases in value. Well, the human part of society has never been more scarce than today. We hardly have human contact right now. And because of that, it has never been more valuable than today as well. So I'm convinced that, yes, digital will boost a lot and probably the way that we work and communicate will be more digital than before. But at the same time, I think that the offline world will also boost. I think many of us have seen the limits of virtual meetings, that you lose a lot of nuance, you lose the body language, you use the informal pre and post meeting conversations that add a lot of value to our relationships with each other and between companies. So I think we all feel that. We all feel the urge to talk with friends and meet up with family. So I think we value the human part more than before. And because of that, we're also going to see a boom of that. Even in shopping, for instance, if you look to retail, I mean, today, if you have to buy a T-shirt, you go online and then you get like 50,000 options to buy a T-shirt, and some people are really good in finding the right T-shirt in that large amount of offers, but many people will be so glad that a human will help them to find the perfect T-shirt as well. So I think we're going to see a boost of both. We're going to see a boost of digital, and we're going to see an increase in the value for humans in the world as well.
Well, if we could focus on the use of technology and AI in fighting with the pandemic, can we compare East and West, and how did things work there?
Well, AI is at the beginning of its adoption curve. It's still very unclear for many people what it does, what it means. Many people don't know that they're actually in their day-to-day life being confronted with AI. I mean, every time you go to Instagram and Facebook, it's an algorithm that defines what you see and what you don't see, but we don't perceive that as AI anymore. We still, when you hear the words AI, you still think about, it's loss of privacy, it's loss of jobs. I mean, we have the reflex to think about the disadvantages really quickly. And we have that more in the West than in the East, I think. I mean, if you look at how countries like South Korea, Singapore, China are now fighting the virus, it's clear that they're using more data and more AI to solve the issue. I mean, everyone in those countries is using what we call the track and trace apps. I think that's a bad terminology that we invented for those tools, by the way, but we all know what we mean with that. But it's very clear that those kind of tools really help countries to create a more open environment and to fight the virus in a more focused way rather than a full scale impact on society. They try to focus it on the areas where there's really a problem. And to be honest, I think that we're going to need that kind of technology in the West as well. But you feel that there's still a lot of work to be done before we are at that point. I don't see the media in all Western countries, obviously. I focus on what I see in Belgium. And when we talk about using AI to monitor the virus, very quickly, the discussion is about security, it's about privacy and all those aspects. It's typically about the how of the tool. I think it's important for society to focus more on the why of the tool. Why would we need a system that a technological system that helps us? I think we need to focus on the fact that maybe if we have a tool like that, that it will be easier to go to a restaurant again. Maybe it's going to be easier to organize events with thousands of people again. So I think we need to talk more about the why of technology and AI than about the how. And I think in the West, we're mainly focused on the how and then the negative parts of that how, which I can understand, but it's very clear that we're going to need that kind of technology to help us guide us through that. So I think we will evolve as society towards being more open to that once we really understand the benefits of that, and once communication is more transparent and more, you know, in line with the worries and the hopes of people.
I see. If we talk about the winners and losers during this crisis, which brands or companies fight with the pandemic well, and which could not?
Yeah, on a large scale level, it's already clear that the big e-commerce players are winning. Look at Amazon. In March, they hired 100,000 extra people to deal with the increase in demand. And now 2 days or 3 days ago, they announced that they need another 75,000 of people. So, I mean, you already see that they have to increase their capacity. So they're a winner. You saw the same in China, where companies like JD, for instance, almost doubled their amount of food deliveries during the lockdown. So it's clear that those companies will be the winners. Look at Disney Plus, for instance. Disney is probably a company that's really suffering from the crisis because movies are postponed, their parks are closed, their cruise ships are docked. But thank God for them that they have Disney Plus, that they have a direct relationship with the end user. And they grew their number of subscriptions from 30 million before the crisis to 50 million today. So you see that all those digital players are winners. If I look at a more local, a smaller level, take smaller local retailers. The crazy thing is that you have winners and losers within every category. You have restaurants now that have more revenue than before the crisis, and you have restaurants that have nothing. And that has everything to do with their entrepreneurial mindset. Restaurants that really understood, we can make the shift. We're going to start with meals that can be delivered. We're going to do that delivery ourselves, and we're going to use our staff not to make food or not to, you know, bring food to the tables anymore, but we're going to use that staff to drive around and deliver food to our customers. Those kind of restaurants are booming right now. The ones that just sat there and waited until the government allowed them to open again, those are the ones that are suffering. So even on those, I think in the larger scale, it doesn't really matter which category you're in. You can be a winner, unless you're, of course, a category that is completely gone, like take the travel industry. I mean, you can be the best travel agent in the world. Today, it's very hard to do good business in that industry because it totally vaporized for an uncertain amount of time. But many, many other companies are in categories where consumers still like to have their products. And then it's a matter of your own entrepreneurship to make it happen.
So do you think, will this coronavirus create new industries?
I think so. I think that the whole broad industry of not healthcare, but health will become more important. Every company, every single industry is now in the health industry. They have to take care of the health of their employees and the health of their clients. So this is completely new. This is something we took for granted 2 months ago. Now it's a big urgency. So I think that we're going to see a lot of industries that come up with new services, new hardware, new software, new ideas that facilitate companies to do a better job in terms of taking care of people's health. That's going to be a booming new industry that we're going to see rising from the ground in the next months and years.
I see. So when do you think this is going to end?
I don't know. We have to ask the medical experts. I don't have a clue. I read everything that's available, and sometimes you read optimistic scenarios, sometimes you read pessimistic scenarios. So in my opinion, even the medical experts don't have a clue when this will end. So I think we will have to wait and see. Okay.
So what are those scenarios then? What are your post-corona scenarios which are available?
Well, there are a number of interesting perspectives to think about. Think about employee experience. I think this is going to be a really interesting domain where we're going to see a lot of change. I think many companies now discover that working from home can actually work, that remote meetings can actually work, that you don't always need to travel to have a good meeting. We see the limits of that as well, like I said in the beginning. But this is some sort of a reset for the way that we work within organizations. And I think we're going to see the biggest shift there. Hopefully we will have less traffic jams, for instance. It would be crazy that all of us just go back into that same traffic jam in September or October. This is a moment to rethink that, to become more flexible. One of the big issues for many people around the world was the work-life balance. This has been a top priority for many organizations. This is a perfect time to rethink that and to add more flexibility in the whole process. This is probably the largest experiment we ever had to try out new stuff. So it would be a waste if we don't rethink the way that we work.
So do you think this is permanent, or once this is over, will people go back to what they are used to? Or is it going to create a big revolution?
I think it will be a mix. You read a lot of scenarios where people say nothing will be the same again. I don't believe that. I think a lot of things will go back to the way they were, but some things will not. Like the way that we work will probably change. And the way that we communicate with each other will probably change. Probably security in airports and at mass events, the way that we travel. After 9/11, we had new security checks in airports. After the attacks that we had with ISIS in the last few years, we had new security measures in cities and airports. We had to get used to that. I think now we're going to have new measures that are related to healthcare, and we're going to have to get used to that as well.
I see. Thank you very much, Steven, and you stay safe and keep well, and hope to talk to you later.
Yeah, you too. And thank you for having me in your YouTube show. And I hope that we'll be able to meet each other again in real life really soon.
Yes, same here. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.